Well, welcome back to another episode of the Financially Free Journey podcast, and I'm your host, Courtney Dyer. And if you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm excited that you are on your journey to financial freedom. You want to get better with your money. You want to be able to feel confident and smart and informed when it comes to making good money decisions and goals. And this podcast aims to dispel the seemingly complex topic of personal finances and money management, debt, savings, investing, retirement, and all things small business. And so today we are going to be going over a highly requested topic. And I have been asking the listeners a lot lately for feedback on what topics do you want me to cover? What are financial questions that you have been looking to have me cover so I can help you with what you're specifically needing. And so if you don't follow on Instagram, it's at Financially Free Journey. And there I've been taking a lot of surveys and polls and asking for opinions and feedback. So make sure that you hop on and follow us on there, because that is a place where we have been communicating a lot of the listeners and I around, what topics are we going to cover? So also you can, if you're not on social media, some people aren't, you can shoot me an email. I love emails. I love going through that and having direct communication with you guys. It's financiallyfreejourneypodcast@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email. Tell me what you're working on. What financial goal are you set to achieve right now? I would love to hear from you guys, honestly. Okay, so this week we had a Labor Day weekend, right? Which was pretty awesome. So we had a 3-day weekend. A lot of people went out spending money, having a fun time and with family and friends and all that great stuff. And I thought that right now would be a really good time for us to cover, what does it look like to build a path towards financial freedom and to be successful with it? Because a lot of times we will set these goals, and they're these ambiguous, large goals, right, without any substance behind them. And it's like, how do I achieve financial freedom? And if you could see me, I'm doing air quotes, quote unquote. What does that look like? What does that mean with my day-to-day actions? What does that mean for me as an individual? And so I want to go over some habits that people who achieve financial freedom through surveys have said are the top habits that have helped them attribute their success to being able to achieve financial freedom. And if you're not aware, a lot of people who become millionaires within the United States are not people who are super high income earners, but they're people that are really consistent with their lifestyle, how much they spend, and then also their savings and investing habits. And they're very, very consistent and diligent. And so if you're looking to achieve financial freedom prior to the traditional retirement age of 65, then you're going to want to adopt some financial freedom habits that we're going to go over that will enable you to be able to support yourself prior to being able to draw off of traditional retirement investment vehicles and Social Security, right? Because if you are a W-2 employee, you've got your 401k or your 403b, most likely, and the traditional age to be able to draw out of those is 59 and a half without tax penalty. So if you don't want to pay 10% tax penalty from drawing out of your 401k or your 403b, then what options do you have? You have other investment options, and you need to be able to bridge that gap between whatever age, if you want to be financially free at 30 or 40 or 50, whatever it looks like for you, you've got to be able to bridge that gap between the time that you want to be work optional and financially free and that traditional retirement age where you can then start drawing out of that 401k and then, come full age to be able to draw out of Social Security. You can draw early at 62, you can draw at 66, or you can wait till you are 70, and then you have additional Social Security benefits on top of it by, drawing late at 70. So there's a couple different stages to financial freedom, and we need to have habits that will prepare you to be able to achieve financial freedom when you are ready, okay? So let's go over these habits. So before we dive into the first one, achieving financial freedom is a goal for a lot of people, right? And that's probably why you're listening to this podcast and specifically this episode, because it's probably a goal for you. And I want to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of what financial freedom is. It generally means having enough savings, enough investing, and cash on hand to be able to afford the lifestyle that you want for yourself and your family within your financial freedom time frame, right? I'm not going to say retirement because, it's different than retirement, because retirement is that traditional retirement age like we just talked about. So you need to be able to think about how can you support the lifestyle that you want to live. So it may not be the lifestyle that you're currently living. It may not be the same level of income and expenses that you currently have in your life. So you need to first sit down and map out, what does financial freedom look like for you? Does this look like traveling the world with your partner? Does this look like being able to have barbecues every weekend with family and friends? Does this look like being able to road trip across the country? What does it look like to you? Because that's going to be very different for you than it is for your best friend, or maybe even for your spouse if you have one. So you got to sit down and have that conversation if you're married or you have a significant other. And what does financial freedom look like for you guys individually, as well as together as a couple or a family? And map out what those expenses are. So right now you may be in the thick of it. You have you've got a mortgage, you've got student loans, you've got multiple car loans, right? So you're heavy on the debt side. So you've got a lot of expenses going out for debt. Well, we know that to achieve financial freedom, you're going to whittle down that debt. So I want you to think about, without all of the debt payments, what will it look like to be financially free, and what will that equal to every month? So, the lifestyle of traveling, eating out, activities, all that stuff that's encompassed. If you have children that will still be at home when you're financially free, or if they're not at home, maybe they're in college or you have grandkids, what expenses are going to be tied to that for you? And come up with a number and an annual number. And that's going to be the goal. So you need to think about, for financial freedom, what will that be for you? So the thing is that unfortunately, a lot of people, they want to achieve financial freedom and they talk about it and they say they want to be financially free and work optional, but they fail to achieve it. And they're burdened with increasing debt, right? It seems like as soon as you pay off one credit card, it's like another one pops up like a weed. And there's a lot of financial emergencies that come up. The car goes out, that you got to get new tires, or there's a medical emergency and you've got a big medical bill now. And sometimes it seems like you're trying to dig yourself out of quicksand. And there's just this spending that continues to happen. And there's other issues that we have to thwart off in order to reach financial goals like financial freedom. Now, are you starting a new business and you might be concerned about using your personal number? Well, for less than $13 per user, you can get a business line with Flex Plans. This is the all-new business phone plan by Virtual PBX. Flex Plans provides unlimited calling, business texting, video conferencing, all for entrepreneurs that need a way to connect with their customers. And it includes a free soft phone, plus it includes 2 free local toll-free numbers, a virtual receptionist, professional greetings, call forwarding, voicemail, text, and just so much more. So right now you can save 15% by visiting virtualpbx.com/podcast. Now that's less than $13 per user for your business line. So separate your private line from your professional line today by visiting virtualpbx.com/podcast. Then there's unexpected events like we've seen it a lot in the news lately, like hurricanes or earthquakes or tornadoes or a pandemic, right? And things that we haven't planned for. And those things can really overturn plans and really reveal some holes, in your safety net if you haven't seen them visibly before. So this has been a really good time this past year to reflect and say, okay, where are we with our financial goals? Did we, definitely fall short because we didn't have enough of a safety net? We didn't have enough emergency savings in place. We had to keep using our credit card. So that's really going to help you first and foremost. The safety net is everything. So that way you have that cushion and that layer between you and taking on more consumer debt, because if you're in consumer debt, you cannot be financially free. So that's first and foremost, okay? So we know what financial freedom is. We also know that we've got to have a safety net, and it's got to be substantial enough to take care of you and your lifestyle and your family's or your household's emergencies, because everybody's is going to be different. Mine may be I have, two kids that had these expenses come up for, sports. And it's something I didn't realize we were going to have to pay a $500 fee for the traveling team. That's going to be different for me than for someone else listening that maybe doesn't have any kids. So maybe yours is, your roommate moved out and you need to have that cushion to be able to pay the rent before you find a new roommate. So think of those emergencies and what it would entail to have a really good safety net. So let's go over habit number 1. Habit number 1 is you've got to set life goals. This is so ambiguous sounding, like set life goals. I'm not saying, just hear me out for a second. So again, what is financial freedom to you? And a general desire, and if it's too vague of a goal, it's not going to work out. I just covered this a minute ago, but I want to drill it in. You have to get specific. You got to write it down. So how much should be in your bank account? What does your lifestyle entail? I want you to close your eyes and envision it. Write it down. And what age do you want to achieve this? And the more specific you are with these goals, the higher likelihood you're going to have when it comes to achieving the goals. You have to be very, very specific. And it may feel silly to do that, but you would need to dig in. And the next thing you need to do is really count backwards of your current age and then establish financial milestones at regular intervals. So you're going to write down neatly, and you're going to put the goal sheet at the beginning of the year, and you're going to be able to create milestones. So let's say if you're 30 years old and you want to be financially free at 40, you've got 10 years. You're going to, by doing the lifestyle expense activity, you're going to find out how much money you're going to need, and then you're going to create financial milestones for yourself when it comes to investing, paying off debt, having cash on hand. What's that going to look like, and you're going to lay those out very clearly for yourself, okay, and have a really good visual, because the more visual and in your face it is, again, the more likely you're going to be able to stick to it and achieve it. So the next habit that people who are financially free have really attributed to them being successful and achieving financial freedom is making a budget. And I love talking about budgets, and a lot of people have this negative connotation when it comes to budgeting. Budgeting is not a bad thing. Budgeting is saying, hey, I'm creating a plan for my money. It's a spending plan. So you are not letting your money just decide for you, and you're not just letting, your emotions decide for you because in the moment you felt a certain way, but it didn't support your financial goals. You're creating a spending plan and a budget to help you stick to guaranteeing that, number one, all your bills are paid on time, and that your savings and investing is on track, or paying off your debt is on track. It's also a regular routine that's going to reinforce your goals, and it's going to bolster against that temptation or the splurge, right? And I talk a lot about emotional triggers when it comes to spending. Money is 95% emotional, the way that we interact with it, and maybe 5% logical. Because how many times have you looked at your budget and said, I created the best budget, I know I had enough money come in, but why does it feel like I don't have any money right now? Why was I not able to stick to my plan to make that extra, debt snowball payment? Or why was I not able to stick to that plan of the money going into my investment account? And it's because we make these emotional decisions when it comes to our money, and they're triggered by how we're feeling. So you need to understand your emotional triggers when it comes to money and be aware of that. And you need to be able to work that into your budget and maybe not put yourself in situations where those emotional triggers are going to happen, where it's not going to support your short-term and your long-term goals. Because again, your financial goals need to be directly tied to your happiness. And if you are creating a budget that directly ties to supporting those goals, you are supporting your happiness, right? So don't view it as a restriction. View it as a plan to ensure your happiness. So the next habit that I want to go over that supports financial freedom is paying off credit cards in full. Credit cards are one of the worst ways or one of the easiest ways, I guess, to be able to continuously be on the credit card carousel and the debt carousel and to not make headway with becoming financially independent. And there's a lot of people who will advocate for credit cards or using credit cards for rewards. And I'm not saying that that's bad, but it's not for everyone because, again, as I just said, money is extremely emotional. And if you are tempted by having a credit card that has a $20,000 limit and you're like, well, you know what? I get paid in a week. I might as well just buy it now. It's on sale, right? Whatever your line of thinking is that talks yourself into credit card debt. It's a tool that some people can use, right? They can do like traveling hacks where they use their rewards to travel for free and all that great stuff, all the best laid plans. But it doesn't work out for the majority of people. And it's because money is emotional. It is not logical. The way that we interact with it is not logical 95% of the time. And so you may think that having the credit card and using it for all of your spending is going to be a great way to travel hack or, get all the rewards. And I have done this, okay? I have done this. I've been there. I have done that. And that's why I can speak to it because I'm a very logical person. I know a lot about finances, a lot about personal finances and money and the psychology of money. And even though I have all the information, I have still fallen into the credit card carousel trap where I'm like, I'm going to use my rewards. There were several years where I would, rack up all the rewards and then I would cash them out on my American Express for gift cards. And I would use that for gifts for people because I'm like, oh, it's money I'm already going to spend, right? And I might as well be able to then get rewarded for it. And then it's cash that I give people for Christmas. Like that's going to save me a ton of money actually, right? That's the logical brain speaking. But what happened was not logical. It was a lot of emotional spending and a lot larger balance than what was expected. And so what's the cost of those credit card rewards? And I just had a guest on the show and his episode is going to air on Friday. So in a couple days, so make sure you turn into it. And his name's George Camel. And he's a host of the Dave Ramsey Show. And he also hosts his own podcast called The Fine Print. And it just launched about a month ago. And he has an episode dedicated to credit card rewards that I definitely would encourage you to go listen to if this is something that maybe you're struggling with or you have questions around or you're like, hey, I love credit card rewards, but I do struggle with holding a balance on my credit card. There's a lot of data supporting how most people do not make it out on the positive when it comes to using credit cards for their rewards. So it's something for you to research, okay? So just make sure that you're not falling into this toxic culture of, oh yeah, definitely have the credit card for rewards because it doesn't work for everybody. But it can't, if it's working for you, then more power to you, honestly, because that's something that logically makes more sense if you can cash in and make it work, but a lot of people can't because they aren't setting up those barriers for themselves. So the next habit that I want to go over is creating automatic savings. And I've talked about this a lot, but the more that you can automate your financial goals and your financial plan, the more likely you will be to achieving it. So that's automating your bills to be paid, just automatically drafted out of your account, automating your savings. So if you can split your direct deposit and have your money that pays all your bills go into your bill account, that's a checking account, and then have your money direct deposited into your savings account at a different financial institution, and you're not, you haven't set up like Zelle, for example, where you transfer back and forth, you're creating more of a safety net and you're setting up more barriers for yourself to make sure that you're sticking to your overall financial plan. So the more that you can automate anything within your financial plan when it comes to saving, investing, paying bills, paying off debt, the much better you're going to be. And what my husband and I have done is we have a checking account that's just for our bills. And I've calculated out how much the bills are and how much of our money has to be direct deposited into the account to be able to pay the bills. And then we both have separate checking accounts that's our spending accounts. And the reason why I did this is because the way that we interact, it's better for us to have more autonomy with our personal spending, but we don't want it to interfere with it paying our bills because that is what's the number one cause of divorce, guys, is fighting over money, right? So like we don't want to have any fights over money. And by setting it up this way, it has eliminated like 99% of conversations that we had about money prior. And we also have our investing automated. So we've, have a certain amount that's direct deposited into our investment, our brokerage account. And then of course we have our 401k's contributions automatically pulled out prior to even receiving our direct deposit. So the more you can automate, the more likely you are to hit those milestones that you've set when you set your life goals, right? Back at habit number 1. So make sure that you look at your plan, you look at your savings, investing, and your debt, and you automate as much as you possibly can, because trust me, you will thank yourself. Let's take a moment to thank this episode's sponsor, Ether Diamonds, the world's first sustainable diamonds and the only diamonds that are actually good for the planet. Ether has created the world's first positive impact diamonds, made from air through a process that removes harmful air pollens, captures the carbon from it, and then retasks that carbon to a higher purpose in their one-of-a-kind diamonds. These are 100% real diamonds with a real impact. In fact, every carat of Ether diamonds offsets your personal carbon footprint for over a year. They're some of the highest quality diamonds you can buy and certified by IGI, the world's largest independent laboratory for testing and grading gemstones and fine jewelry. You're no longer stuck having to choose between mined and regular lab-grown diamonds, both of which are harmful for the environment. Ether offers the only truly sustainable diamonds on the market, requiring no ethical or environmental trade-offs. They're the only guilt-free diamonds available in the world. So to learn more about these revolutionary diamonds from air, visit their website at etherdiamonds.com. That's AETHER diamonds.com, and check them out on social media at etherdiamonds. So the next habit that I really want to talk about that has led people to financial freedom who have already been there and done that is starting to invest now. So let me walk you through this. Bad stock markets can make people question this, right? A lot of people have seen, especially in the last 18 months, the stock market have record highs and lows and then record highs again. And this can historically have people feel a little skittish around investing. And so they look for other options, or they save their money in the bank, or the cash under the mattress, mentality. But historically, there has been no better way to grow your money than through investing your money. You have to take into account inflation as well. So it's not just about saving up the actual dollars that you need, but your dollars every day depreciate in value if they're not being invested to outpace inflation. And with the rate of inflation currently where it's at, last I checked, it was 5.6%. If you're not making at least 5.6% on your money in the bank, then you are losing money every day that your money sits in the bank and it's not being invested. So the magic here is compound interest, right? Your money is compounding over time, and it's going to increase exponentially every day that you have it invested. But you need to have a lot of time on your side in order to achieve meaningful growth. So there is no time like right now when it comes to the right time to invest your money. You should have started yesterday, right? But we can't go back to yesterday. We can only control what we do today. So start investing now. Don't try to be a stock picker or, trick yourself into thinking that you can, pick and outpace the market. There's a lot of people that get really into trying to time the market. Statistically speaking, studies have shown the most success happens when you are consistent, you dollar cost average into the market, and you invest into funds that have proven success. Or if you're looking for growth and income, you're looking to invest into dividend funds or aristocrat funds, in stocks where they're paying you dividends as well as growing and compounding over time. So, this would entail you opening up a brokerage account, making sure that you learn how to actually go in and the mechanics of investing and buying into funds, and then creating a manageable portfolio for yourself, and make sure that you are checking it weekly or monthly by having contributions that are automatically put into your investment account. So going back to one of the habits earlier, automating everything, automating your savings. And so if investing is a part of the journey that you're at right now, making sure that you automatically split your direct deposit, and let's say $100 a month is what you're able to spare to invest. You have $100 automatically deposited into your brokerage account. And let's say that happens on the second and the fourth Friday of every month because that's when you get paid, then you're going to automatically buy into the funds that you've researched for yourself that match your investment goal. So if it transfers in on a Friday, have the trade placed on those Fridays automatically. You can schedule it out in advance for it to happen every other week. So again, the more that you automate, the better and the more successful you're going to be. The next tip that I want to share is to watch your credit. And your credit score really does determine what interest rate you're going to be offered when you're buying things like a car or refinancing a home and when you're purchasing these items. It can also impact seemingly unrelated things that a lot of people don't realize are impacted by your credit score, which is things like your car insurance, or even if you're looking at buying life insurance premiums, your credit score is going to be pulled for that. So the reasoning is that someone that has reckless financial habits, they're paying late, they're overextending themselves. These are people that are likely to be reckless in other aspects of their life. This is what a lot of car insurance companies or life insurance companies, for example, believe. And so this is an indicator of how responsible you are. So again, not that you're wanting to worship the almighty, FICO score, but you are wanting to make sure that you're not allowing your credit score to be reflected in such a way that, in other aspects of your life, you could be viewed as reckless. So this is why it's really important to make sure that you get a credit report at least annually. And you can do that by going to creditreport.com. You can get your credit report for free once a year. And you make sure that you're checking it at regular intervals to make sure that there's no, items that are being reported in error, right? That could be ruining your credit score or portraying you in a way that could be viewed as reckless. So make sure that you're protecting your information. Maybe having a good credit monitoring service in place is another great way to be able to watch your credit. Another habit is to make sure that you are able to negotiate. And a lot of Americans are really hesitant when it comes to negotiating for, the things that we're buying. But worrying about it, a lot of people think is makes you look cheap when you go out and you're trying to negotiate. But overcoming that cultural handicap that we have where it's you're being viewed as someone that's cheap, or maybe you can't afford it because you're negotiating. This could save you a lot of money over time. There's a lot of small businesses in particular that really tend to be open to negotiation, but you don't know unless you ask, right? So where, you could be buying in bulk or repeat business, these could be businesses where you could look at opening up the door to negotiations and having some good discounts. And so when it comes especially to big purchases like buying a car, for example, negotiating a couple $1,000s off of the price can save you a tremendous amount of money over time. And so don't let that handicap you by being worried about the perception that you maybe can't afford the item. You're just trying to make the best financial decision and get to the best price for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. So negotiating is a fantastic financial habit that can help you get closer to financial freedom. The next habit that I want to talk about is continuous education. And this is so critical because you're doing it right now. You're listening to a podcast that is about education, right? We're not talking about pop culture. We're not talking about the Free Britney movement. We're not talking about The Bachelor in Paradise. We are talking about you bettering yourself. And by you dedicating this time to yourself, to bettering yourself, is getting you one step closer to financial freedom. Review all changes in tax laws that could affect you. So if you have children, make sure that you're up to date on, deductions and credits. Make sure that you understand what type of tax bracket you're in, making sure that you're doing things that are going to support your financial freedom, and staying up to date on educating yourself around those items is going to be really helpful for you. Make sure that you stay up to date on financial news and developments that could be happening in the stock market if you're investing. So understanding how those global events or domestic events could impact the portfolio that you have. Knowledge is one of the best defenses against those who prey on the unsophisticated investor. I want you to think about that. People that are knowledgeable are going to be able to have the best defense against scams and people who prey on the weak, and not physically, mentally. So this is a great way to be able to ensure that you are staying on track to financial freedom by keeping vigilant and aware and increasing your knowledge when it comes to your finances. Because again, the knowledge is going to be key in making sure that you stay on track. The next financial habit is really proper maintenance. And what I mean about when I say proper maintenance is taking good care of property. This makes everything from your cars, your equipment like lawnmowers or shoes, clothes, whatever it is that you own, making sure that you are maintaining it properly, because there is a cost to not maintaining your items. The cost of maintenance is a fraction to the cost of replacement. So when you think about your vehicle, for example, when the change oil light comes on or check engine light comes on, it's like, I don't know if I can afford that right now. Think about what it would cost you if you ended up having to replace the engine, or even worse, replace the vehicle. So making sure that you have a proper maintenance routine, and it comes down to things like I just said, taking care of your clothing, making sure that when you wash your clothes, that you are, doing it on cold, right? If it's colors to make it last longer, whatever the situation is, taking proper care and proper maintenance of your items makes those items last longer, and it makes the replacement time frame longer. So you're not having to go in and replace items as frequently, therefore your expenses stay lower. And this is another helpful habit that a lot of people who are financially independent have reported to help them on their road to financial freedom. And I found this one very interesting because I had not thought about this one before until I read it. The next habit that I want to go over is to live below your means. I talk about this all the time. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because you, of course, know this if you've been listening to my podcast for more than 5 minutes. Mastering a frugal lifestyle by having a mindset of living life to the fullest with less, it's not that hard, but a lot of people who are even wealthy have developed habits of living, above their means, and this detours them from being able to achieve financial freedom and to build wealth, because regardless of if you make $30,000 a year or $1 million a year, your output has to be less than your input in order to build wealth. You have to have money at the end of the month to be able to put towards creating passive streams of income to replace your earned income. So living below your means is one of those lifetime habits to building wealth. And one of the biggest pushbacks I get from people, especially on like TikTok or Instagram, social media, is, you're not wealthy if you have to have a budget. And I'm here to tell you that some of the wealthiest people I know, multi-millionaires over, have budgets. And this is because these are people who value their time. They value the time that it took to make the money. And they want to make sure that their money is working harder for them than they had to work for that money. So make sure that you understand that having a budget doesn't mean you're poor. It doesn't mean you can't afford things. It means that you value your time and the time that it took to make the money that you have. And you're going to make your money work freaking hard. You're going to make it work way harder than you, because you have the right to that. So make sure that you live below your means and you understand what your input is versus your output. So now that the kids are off to school, you probably have more time to spend in your workshop, right? And that means now is the perfect time to check out Cucamonga Woodworking. Cucamonga Woodworking offers large, sturdy silicone mats that protect your workspace from damage that can happen when you're gluing, sanding, or chiseling. With a silicone mat, cleanup is easier than ever, and you can go longer and not have to worry about messes that have to do with glue, oil, or resin. Now, buy the perfect gift for your husband, your dad, or hey, even yourself. Check out Cucamonga Woodworking at their website, which will be linked in the show notes. It's cucamongawoodworking.com, and you'll get 15% off when you buy 2 mats. And you can also find them on Amazon, and I will also include that link in the show notes. The next financial habit that a lot of financially independent people attribute to helping them build their financial wealth and being independent and having time freedom is having a financial advisor. And this is something where enlisting experts in different areas of your life can be so helpful. It can save you time, it can save you money. And so once you've gotten to the point where you've amassed a decent amount of wealth and you want to look at investing and having a strategy that's going to support your lifestyle and your expenses. It's critical to enlist somebody who does this for a living and making sure that you enlist a financial advisor that's sitting on the same side of the table as you, so to say. And what I mean by that is that they're not paid commissions per all the trades that they're doing, because what they're being rewarded for is buying and selling, and that costs you money. You have to pay commissions, you have to pay fees to trade in and out of funds. You want to look at a financial advisor that's paid based off of the assets under management, and they're paid a percentage. And the going rate in the industry is around 1% right now. And when you meet with a financial advisor, they will, do portfolio projections for you based off of how aggressive you want to be, what type of, time horizon you have, what type of investing you like to do. And they will give you a net return based off of the fees that they charge you and the projected return of the portfolio. And that way you can see if that meets your needs. So again, paying for services is not a bad thing. Not everything has to be free in this world, especially when it's information that, it's going to be solid, important information to help you achieving your financial goals. That's important to pay for once you've gotten to a point where you need to now put in a tactful strategy when it comes to investing. The next financial habit is to take care of your health. And I find this one so interesting because the principle of proper maintenance that we just talked about when it comes to taking care of all of your cars and your clothing and your home, it's going to decrease the rate of replacement, which is super expensive. It's going to be the same thing but it applies to your body, right? And investing in good health with regular visits to the doctor and to the dentist and following health advice about any, medical problem that you may have is really going to help you prevent being able to have larger medical issues that could cost you a lot more than just money, right? So taking care of your health is critical because there is such a tremendous expense that comes to medical care and taking care of yourself and being able, if you need anything outside of, getting a Band-Aid at the urgent care, it can be quite expensive in America. And our healthcare system really is just, it's out of whack right now, right? And I think most people can agree with that. And so doing your regular checkups and visits is really going to help you not get to that point where you're now having to pay your $6,000 out-of-pocket deductible and, the remaining 20% of expenses and all those things that come with having, hard medical issues that you're dealing with. So, again, and this really does apply to things that are avoidable, right? Like diabetes, obesity, dental care, things that you can take care of and you can avoid with proper maintenance. This is, of course, not referring to, things that we cannot control like cancer. So, but I want to throw that out there to you is, are you doing regular visits to the doctor for yourself, your significant other, children, anybody that's dependent on you? This is also great if you have parents that are elderly to make sure that they are taking care of their health and having regular visits to the doctor, because a lot of elderly people don't have plans when it comes to, if they have assisted living needs because their medical care requires it, because they need round-the-clock care for nurses and for medical issues, and they don't have the coverage that's necessary. And so that's something for you, if you do have parents that are, getting into that age range, to take into consideration, making sure that they are getting their regular checkups. So then that way they can also have, of course, a more meaningful and fulfilling life. So getting off of my soapbox there, I just thought that was a really critical one. And I found it fascinating that it ties into the top financial habits that financially independent people attribute to their success. The bottom line here, guys, is that, these habits aren't going to solve all of your money problems. You can't wave a magic wand and say, okay, now I'm financially independent, everything is easy, everything is great. But if you adopt these financial habits, they are going to help you develop healthy habits that can help you on your path to financial freedom, whatever that means to you, because financial freedom looks different for everybody. I've talked about this a lot. what I envision for myself as financially free is going to be very different than what you envision for yourself. But adopting habits that support that vision is going to support your happiness and your ability to stay consistent and to actually achieve those goals. And so I would love for you to re-listen to this episode and to think about which habits you're going to adopt. And remember, you can't do everything at once, but which ones are going to be the most impactful for you currently in your financial situation that support your financial goals. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I really appreciate you guys and your listening to the podcast and your support and the love that I feel from you guys each and every week. I mean, I have never had more passion in my life than I have when it comes to creating these episodes and putting this out there for you guys because of the positive feedback that I get from you. And I just so appreciate it. And I feel like you guys are my financially free family, And so like I said at the beginning of the episode, if you're not following me on Instagram and TikTok so we can be connected, because again, when you're on social together, you're friends, right? Make sure that you send me an email, financiallyfreejourney podcast@gmail.com, and let me know what you're working on. What are your financial goals? What questions do you have for me? What topics would you like to have covered? And if you haven't left a review for the podcast yet, what are you doing? Please take a moment. Go leave a review for the podcast. Let me know what episodes you've enjoyed and what topics you would like to have covered. I would really appreciate it. All you got to do is search Financially Free Journey in the Apple Podcast app. When the podcast pops up, you're just going to scroll down a little bit past the recent episodes and it's going to show you reviews. And you're just going to click on the purple words that say write a review. And you're going to have to hit the stars. Of course, you're going to hit the 5 stars. That's obvious. But you're going to also write the review and just take 30 seconds, write out, tell me what you'd love to have covered and what episodes you've enjoyed. I would really appreciate it. And with that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Until next time. My Nashville, Tennessee listeners, don't leave quite yet. I want to remind you about Commodore Express and that they're actively hiring truck drivers as we speak. If you want to be able to get out from the desk, get on the road, and be able to see your family more and receive competitive pay, Commodore Express is perfect for you. I want to make sure that you know the number, which is 615-287-5140, or you can simply go to their website and I'll make sure to link it in the show notes. Now, if you love listening to the Financially Free Journey podcast, then you will love our premium subscription edition of the show. You will get early access, ad-free listening, and bonus content that you will not hear on the regular show. So make sure that you hit the subscription button and join the premium fun.